My name's Julian Cribb. I'm a science writer. I've been a newspaper editor, a journalist for more than 40 years. I've been writing about science all of that time. And in the last 10 or 15 years, basically since 2000, I've been bumping into more and more scientists in particular, but also grandparents such as myself and young people who are starting to say we are entering the end game in human history. Is this the end of the human species, the end of human civilization? Because they're very worried about the future. Now, I didn't know whether they were right or wrong, but as a science writer, I thought it's possible to find out the truth of this. I could delve into the best science all around the world, the best universities, the best researchers, and find out what they were saying on the various topics. Now, what I found from all of that was that there are huge man-made risks that are bearing down on us, and they are creating what you could call an existential emergency. We are facing the biggest challenge in the entire history of the human species. That's in the last million years, bigger than anything else that we've ever faced. And it's not just climate change. It's also the fact that our resources are running out. It's the fact that we've poisoned our planet. It's the fact that the food supply is no longer secure. It's the fact that weapons of mass destruction are now capable of taking out the entire species in a very short space of time. It's the fact that we've got all these powerful new technologies over which we have absolutely no control. So all of these strands are coming together at this moment in human history, and people have not got answers for them. They've got answers for them individually, but they have not understood that the complexity of the problem is that all of these threats are coming together at the same time, and they must be solved at the same time and by a solution that makes none of them worse. However you solve climate change, it must make nothing else worse. However you solve the food crisis, it must not make climate change worse. So we need to come up with solutions that are completely cross-cutting if we are to have a future. Now, within less than half a century, there's going to be 10 billion people living on a hot planet where most of the systems that we have accepted for thousands of years will be breaking down. The food system will be breaking down. We'll have long run out of water, we'll be running out of topsoil, we'll be running out of nutrients, all of the things that you can think of that support human life and human civilization now will be exhausted by the time we hit that mid-century. So if we don't do something about that now, those solutions are going to be unsolvable. We need to start getting our minds around what it is that we have to do today. I've written 4 books about the existential threat facing the human race, because I believe that over my lifetime as a journalist who has spoken to international leaders, Australian government leaders, scientists all around the world, and I've collected their thoughts and their wisdom. This is not me speaking, this is the collective wisdom of all of the people that I've spoken to all over the world. We need to bring that to bear on the challenge that humanity is now facing. And if we don't do that, we're in an awful lot of trouble. It is a question of how many of us, if any, will actually survive what is going to come down. You know, avoiding a problem, you can't do it by sticking your head in the sands. You have to face it head on. You have to go into that problem, understand what is causing it, and solve it. And that's what I'm advocating that we do. We are quite capable of solving these things. And the thing that we need to solve them is a little thing called wisdom. Wisdom is the ability to look into the future and say, I recognize the various things that are going on, and I can see them happening again, so I can take steps to prevent them if they are undesirable, or I can take steps to encourage them if they're desirable. At the moment, we are so obsessed with money, with politics, with religion, with the human narrative, with all of these transient things, that we're not paying attention to the real facts that are driving our future. And that's what I'm trying to encourage people to do, to think about the real facts and to address the solutions. Now, guess what? There are 2 things happening in this great stream of human history which are really encouraging. The first one is that for the first time ever, for the first time in a million years, human beings are communicating with one another all around the planet. Thanks to the internet, thanks to social media, we are sharing information, thoughts, ideas, and values at the speed of light. And we're sharing them across country boundaries, across linguistic barriers, across all sorts of cultural differences. These things are being shared in common with the whole of the human species. And that has never happened before. We've been each other's enemies. If we're going to survive, we cannot be each other's enemies. We have to be each other's friends and allies. So the internet is starting to build this Earth-sized mind, a mind that is capable of thinking about the problems collectively. We're starting to think about these problems at suprahuman level. So millions of minds are being brought to bear on these problems, these challenges, at the same time. And that is what is coming up with a solution. We're sharing the solutions at the same time. Yes, it's true, we're sharing an awful lot of rubbish and hatred and there's bad things on the internet, but all you have to be is a wise consumer of the internet to differentiate between what's bad and what is good, what's for real. So we are starting to share the good stuff. We are capable as a species of thinking as a species. And that is what we now have to do. Not think as individuals any longer, think as a species. The second one is the fact that women are rising out of the background of human history into positions of leadership. Now, this again has never happened in general in the world in past history. It's happened in a few individual cases, but it hasn't happened generally. Women have been kept in the background, so an entire half of the human brain power has been wasted by putting women in the background. We're now seeing a situation, well, if you think about it, who destroys the forests of the world? Who makes deserts? Who empties the oceans? Who destroys all the wildlife and extinguishes animals? It's not women, it's men. Men do this. Men like to solve their problems quickly and easily with chemicals, with machines, with weapons, and so on, and they don't care about the consequences. The difference between men and women is that women think long term. They think about their children. They think about their grandchildren. They think about nurturing. They think about fostering well-being. They think about the long-range future. Where are the kids, the grandkids, the great-grandkids going to get their food and their shelter and their homes? So women have a much longer-term view of history than men do. And we now need women to lead. And I don't just mean in government. I mean in religion, I mean in society, I mean in corporations and business. Every single sphere of human activity, we must have women as leaders, and we must have men who think like women, not like men. Traditional men tend to destroy, they tend to start wars, they tend to be aggressive towards one another, they're anti-cooperative, they believe in competition rather than cooperation. If we are to survive, we need to get that thinking out. So what I'm saying here is that this is not about gender equity or any of those things. It's not about feminism. It is about the rules for human survival in this new, threatening, immensely dangerous world that we are creating. We put women in charge, we will get through this. If we speak to one another around the world through the internet, we will get through this. We will share the solutions to climate change, to food insecurity, to our poisoned planet, to our loss of resources. We will start recycling everything that we use, all the water that we use, all the metals that we use, all the bricks and mortar that we use, we will reuse again. And then we will have a sustainable civilization.